Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to Testa and Neal. Keep it real right here on WWSU 1069's YouTube channel. I'm Shea Neal alongside with me, Parker Testa. How are all of you? Hope you're all doing well. We appreciate you hanging out with us all week long, and this will be the last show I do in Florida, which is both good and bad because we'll get back to kind of a semi-normal routine, but also that means I have to come back to Ohio, which is kind of an L. But it was a nice week to get away. For sure, definitely something that was needed, but something I've learned this week is I don't think I'm ever going to be able to fully walk away because I'm still doing this show and I've still had a couple meetings this week. So I think that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to 100% step away, but it was good to, play some golf, uh, have some drinks, hang out with some friends, and get away from the day-to-day grind for a few days. How you
Yeah,
doing, man?
yeah. I'm, doing, good as always. Looking forward to, the weather's gonna be good coming up here tomorrow, so I'm gonna get out and try to play some golf.
Very nice, very nice. I'm trying to. So this week I've kind of learned, should say kind of, because I'm not good, obviously, but I've kind of learned how to do it with both hands. Where for the first couple of days we were down here, I learned how to play right-handed. Well, not really, but I learned how to swing right-handed because that was all that was available. But we went out shopping yesterday. We went to the Edison Mall in Fort Myers, and we found this sports store, and I purchased a left-handed 8 iron, and started learning how to swing a little bit left-handed. So hey, I might be the only person in the friend group that can swing with both hands here pretty soon.
Well, being ambidextrous is extremely, it's cool, and I've never heard of a switch hitter in golf, but you might be the first.
And yeah, like I said, I'm like the Billy Hamilton of switch hitters in golf because I'm still gonna hit 215 from both sides, but I can still hit from both sides. So um, we have a lot of fun show to get into today, Parker. The Milwaukee Bucks played without Giannis tonight in Game Five, and looked really, really good doing it, which is not something that I really expected. So we'll break that down. We'll also give our predictions for the rest of the Eastern Conference Finals. A segment that I'm really excited about is we're going to go through some NBA superstars like Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, um, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, as well as John Morant, Zion Williamson. Who is a Batman and who is a Robin in the NBA? Who do we think is a number one guy that can be a top scorer in the playoffs, that can be a leader of a team that's competing to win a championship, and who is kind of a sidekick to an alpha in the NBA? So I'm excited to talk about that. Um, Also today, they announced earlier tonight the MLB All Star Game starters, um, and we'll break those down as well. And then another tier list today. We decided to do a little bit, since it's Friday, we decided to do something a little different. It's not sports. To have a little bit of fun with it, Parker. We're going to be breaking down the best sodas, and we found a pretty good list that has a lot of different, specialty flavors, which is kind of something that we wanted to talk about because especially in today's age, 2021. Uh, I think a lot of the best sodas are the alternative flavors of the originals. The only downside is that this list that we found does not have Mountain Dew Baja Blast, which is maybe the greatest soft drink ever made. So just for reference point, that is going in S tier, no doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. This little bit of a different tier list for you all today, but it's Friday. We're gonna have some fun.
No doubt about it. So let's get into it. Might be another little bit shorter show today, maybe more like an hour and a half, but we will be back to normal on WWSU 106.9 starting on Tuesday of next week. We're going to be taking Monday off because of the Independence Day weekend. So we'll be back on Tuesday the 6th. But let's get into it. The Bucks defeat the Atlanta Hawks tonight in Game 5, 123 to 112. Chris Middleton was solid. He had 28 points, or 26 points, excuse me, but two guys really stepped up for the Bucks tonight, Parker. It was Drew Holiday with 28 points, 13 assists, and it was Brooke Lopez who had 33 points, 14 of 18 shooting. He looked like the Brook Lopez of 2012 back when he was on the New Jersey, the early stages of the Brooklyn Nets. He really stepped up tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks when they didn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Chris Middleton was good, but Drew Holiday was really great too. He ran that offense to near perfection all night long, and really impressive win for the Bucks.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. They were without Giannis, of course, and and Trae Young didn't play either. But still, we talked about guys having to step up, and Lopez did that, as well as Portis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday. Middleton at 26, Holiday at 25, Portis at 22. So they needed big games from these these role players, and they got that from those four guys. So it was a great game overall for Milwaukee. The Hawks struggled a little bit. It was closer to the fine. It was a closer game than or it was a further apart game than it appeared to be. Milwaukee was, they dominated all the way through. We were up by 20 points at one point in the game. So even though you had good games from Bogdanovich, and Gallinari and Lou Williams, as well as John Collins, it wasn't enough tonight for Atlanta.
It was not, and like you said, just a great job by Milwaukee, really seizing momentum in that game. They were up to I believe, a 32-12 lead or whatever in the first quarter. Just jumped out to a double-digit lead and didn't look back. And that was something that Atlanta's overcome a lot of deficits in this playoffs. But without Trae Young, obviously, it's a lot more difficult. And they had Gallinari, they had Bogdanovich, and they got it down to 8, 9, 10 points a couple times. But like you said, guys like Bobby Portis, guys like Drew Holiday, guys like Brook Lopez were great all night and made sure that Milwaukee did not have many empty possessions, and they made Atlanta really work for every bucket they scored tonight. So Milwaukee took advantage of the home court, get a huge win, and now we talked about it yesterday. The team that wins Game 5 wins the series 81% of the time. Um, and now they get two chances to kind of clinch their spot in the NBA Finals. And I'd assume that Trae Young is going to be back for Game 6. He almost played tonight. He was actually in shoot around. I don't think Giannis will be available in Game 6. So if Trae Young is able to go and Giannis is not, I think that makes the Hawks favorites in Game 6, especially because it's in Atlanta. But the way Milwaukee played tonight, they could definitely win Game 6 as well. But if Trae comes back and Atlanta takes care of business at home, we might be looking at a Game 7 in Milwaukee, Parker. And I mean, the way this series has gone, I mean, it almost feels fitting that it goes to a winner take all.
Yeah, it does. And like you said, Trae Young didn't play tonight, but he was real close. And they got to be favorites if he does play coming up here in Game 6, because if the Bucks are without Giannis and the Hawks get Trae back, I see no reason why the Hawks shouldn't put on a show. But like you said, maybe it'll be closer than we think with how Milwaukee played tonight.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, like I said yesterday, I'm not a doctor. I have no clue the severity of Giannis's injury. I have no clue what the doctors are recommending from Giannis and his recovery. But I do know Giannis is a super competitive guy, and I do know that as soon as he's able to run up and down the court and be out there, he will be out there. I just don't know if it's in this series. I don't think that the Bucks are kind of anticipating Giannis coming back until the NBA Finals if they get there. But if this series does go to a Game 7 and Giannis is able to run up and down the court on that leg, he might have to give it a go in Game 7 because obviously the Bucks season would be on the line.
Yeah, it will. And like you said, if you said this before the show, if Trae plays, Giannis is going to find a way to play. And it's just the way it is. And guys are tough in big moments. And if this goes to a Game 7, it's a very likely chance that we will see both guys play. And I have no doubt about that.
Absolutely. I think that like we said, obviously doctors' recommendations are extremely important. Your long-term health is the most important thing, but um, Giannis has waited for 8 years to get this close to an NBA Finals. And if he's got a little bit of pain in his knee, and he's not at full 100% mobility, but he can be out there. He's going to do his best to try and punch his ticket into the NBA Finals. And I mean, Giannis is just that kind of competitor. He's that kind of athlete. If he has to be, out there on crutches, crutching up and down the court, I think he'd be out there. That's just kind of the guy. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, yeah, he is, and he's gonna find a way to be out there if the Bucks need him. And coming up in Game 6, this is huge for for the Hawks. It is. They got to get back into this. They do. As good as guys like John Collins and Bogdanovich, among others, played tonight. You need Trae Young back because they struggled tonight more than you might think against Milwaukee.
No doubt about it. I mean, we've talked multiple times in this postseason about how good Nate McMillan's done at the helm of the Atlanta Hawks, and this is going to be obviously his biggest test to date because he beat the Knicks, he beat the Sixers, the 1 seed, which was a huge upset. But now he's down 3-2. He has his back against the wall, and he's got to find a way to win 2 straight games with or without Giannis. Even without Giannis, that Bucks team is still really, really good, and he's going to have to find a way to win it in Atlanta, force a game 7, and then win a winner take all in hostile territory up in Milwaukee. So if Nate McMillan pulls this off, he's really cemented himself as one of the top coaches of the season. And but this is definitely his toughest test to date as Hawks head coach.
Yeah, yeah, and he's deserve like we've said many times on this show. He deserves to get the head job, man, after this year, and I think he will. But he's just done a fantastic job, leading a team who wasn't his going into the year. So this is what a job by Coach McMillan. And he's managed this team, fantastically. With Trae Young, who has been one of the league's rising stars, and it's been really great to see, and it's just been lights out play for the Hawks, who was a team that we've seen who hasn't really been that relevant in a while. So and we didn't expect them to come this far into these playoffs, and they're here, and this, like I said, this wasn't Nate McMillan's team. It was Lloyd Pierce's team going into the year. And things work out the way they do, and Nate McMillan takes over, and he's done a heck of a job.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And just kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, the two things that, since we're on the topic of NBA coaches, that are kind of relevant in the news. One, speaking of Lloyd Pierce, the former head coach of the Hawks, he's finalizing a deal to be the new top assistant under Rick Carlisle with the Indiana Pacers. We're both Pacers fans, Parker, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think of Coach Pierce coming to be, Rick Carlisle's top assistant.
I'm a fan of it, and I think Coach Carlisle is trying to put together a hell of a coaching staff, for the Pacers because, Lord knows they need work. So, you want to hire, really solid basketball guys who aren't afraid to voice their opinion, and Lloyd
Mm-hmm.
Pierce was one of those guys. He's going to be, I think he'll do a great job. He didn't do a great job in Atlanta, and he was in Atlanta for 3 seasons as head coach. He won just 63 games, so maybe that's a sign that he wasn't ready to be an NBA head coach. It's possible, that's a possibility. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Coach Pierce brings to the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, me too. I think, I mean, you mentioned they're trying to put together a big time coaching staff, and a guy that I think of to add even more to that coaching staff is a guy that I think has a hell of a resume, and I think that Pacers fans would love Nate Bjorkgren. Just kidding. Um,
Oh
uh,
no.
no, let's not bring up Nate Bjorkgren anymore. But no, what something I noticed. We talked about the Suns a little bit yesterday, and they're on their way to the NBA Finals. But I saw that video of Chris Paul and Monty Williams kind of embracing each other after that game was over, and just kind of enjoying the moment. Two guys that have been together for the majority of their careers. Monty Williams, his first head coaching stop was in New Orleans when Chris Paul was an up and coming superstar. they meet up again in Phoenix and they go to their first finals together. I didn't realize how freaking freakishly tall Monty Williams is. Chris Paul looked like his freaking son. Monty's 6'8".
Yeah, yeah, big guy.
It's just insane. I mean, I know that's totally off topic from anything we've talked about today, but I saw that video and I'm like, whoa! I know Chris Paul ain't the tallest dude in the world, but he's at my man's chest.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
I think
think I
you're
did.
still.
I saw that same clip, and it's
Mhm.
like, you know, wow.
But
Chris Paul's like 6'3", but Monty
yeah,
is a whole another level of tall.
right. And I knew Monty had played in the NBA, but like I figured he was like a guard that was like 6'3", 6'4", maybe 6'5". But like he's big. He's 6'8". He's a big dude. And a lot of these NBA coaches that we've seen are former point guards that are 6'3", 6'4". So they're all tall, but they're not that tall. 6'8" might be the biggest coach in the NBA. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone that's bigger than that.
No, I can't either.
I
There
know
are.
Nate McMillan's 6'5", but I can't think of anybody who's 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah, yeah, I can't either. I think Terry Stotts is pretty tall as well.
Luke Walton
Um,
might be like 6'6", 6'7".
yeah, and it's some guys are really they're former players, and they are are really tall. So actually, now that I think of Terry Stotts, I want us to look up how tall he is because I know he's one of the taller NBA head coaches.
He is
Let's
six
see,
eight.
6'8". Okay, so
Yeah,
he's
it
a
says
similar height to Monty Williams.
yeah, the two tallest coaches of all time are Phil Jackson and Kevin McHale. Phil Jackson listed as 6'9", and Kevin McHale listed as 6'10". But right now, the three tallest active NBA head coaches are Monty Williams, Luke Walton, and Terry Stotts, all of who are 6'8".
Right.
So I just didn't realize we had 6'8" NBA head coaches. So that just caught me off guard. But Terry might be the craziest of them all because Terry's the one that I don't think you'd think of as being that big. I mean, you think of Monty and you think of Luke Walton, especially. Luke Walton's still pretty young, but they were forwards in the NBA, and you're like, okay, well, I understand them being a little tall. Terry Stotts, I know he was a former player, but he's still a guy that I don't. I think you look at him and you don't think 6'8", 220. So Terry Stotts, I think, definitely catches you off guard.
It does, and a lot of these guys, I think the funnier thing is, some of these shorter NBA coaches, you see them in the middle of these huddles, and you're like, really? But yeah, it's certainly interesting.
Yeah, it is for sure. So Game 6 of Hawks and Bucks will come up on Saturday night. Um, so Parker, let's end it. Kind of moving on into our next topic with this. Uh, Two games left in the series, potentially at least one though. Hawks and Bucks. Your best guess. Obviously, we don't know when Giannis will come back. We don't know when Trey will come back. But your best guess, who wins this series? Is it over in Game 6 or does it go Game 7?
I think this goes game 7. I do. I think Trey Young is closer to coming back than Giannis is. And I think they will get Trey back in game 6. So I'm taking the Hawks to force a game 7.
Okay. And do you have the Hawks in 7, or do you think the Bucks hold home court?
It's tough. Both these teams are very similar. I, but I can't bet against the Milwaukee Bucks at home. I can't.
I'm the same way. I'm thinking Bucks in 7. I think that they find a way at home, and I think that I think it'll be a close game and a potential Game 7. But down the stretch, the only person I trust to hit a big shot for the Bucks is, or for the Hawks, excuse me, is Trey Young. For the Bucks, you have Giannis in the paint. You have Chris Middleton, who's he's inconsistent at times, but he's a stone cold killer when he's on. You have Drew Holiday, who's been such a good addition for this Bucks team, and we learned tonight. You still have Brook Lopez, who's still got a lot. He's still got some juice left in the tank. He's not the player that he was, 8 years ago, but he's still a really solid NBA center. So I just think the Bucks have more weapons. They have more options, and I think that'll be the difference in a game seven.
Yeah, it will be. And I think they're a deeper team than Atlanta is as well. Like you said, Holiday, Middleton, Lopez, Portis, PJ Tucker,
At Connaughton.
right, Connaughton, Bryn Forbes is, I could go down this entire roster. All these guys are, pretty damn good. So, I like the Bucks in seven.
Yeah, so I think we're on the same page there with that one. Now, I'm excited for this topic. This is something that Colin Cowherd did a little bit earlier in the week on the herd, and I thought it'd be fun to do. We're not going to do every single player that obviously that Colin did because I don't want to just rip off his segment, but we're going to do some different stars, but it's going to be called, Batman or Robin. And so we're going to go through a list of players. And we're going to decide if we think they're a one, a guy that can seize control of a team that's competing for a championship, be the top guy, be the top scorer, be the leader, be the alpha, and take the big shots in the playoffs. Or are they more of a Robin where they're a supporting player to that alpha? So let's start off with a guy that I like a lot that's playing in these playoffs. And we'll start it off with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Parker, I'll let you go first. Do you think Giannis is a Batman or a Robin?
He's the one for me. He's a Batman, and he's the guy in. He's like I said, he's the guy in Milwaukee, and we've seen Milwaukee struggle at times without him. But they proved me wrong tonight. They played fantastic basketball tonight. But there's no doubt that Giannis for me is a one.
Yeah, I think Giannis is a Batman as well. The only Colin made a really good point. The only thing that is hesitant for me about Giannis making him a one is that I don't see Giannis taking a big shot down the stretch of a close game. I think that's more Middleton's game, but I don't think Middleton's a one. I think Middleton's more of a two. I think Giannis, like you said, is the most important player on the Bucks roster. He's the leader of that team without question. He's the best. He's the most talented player on that roster, and he's by far the most dangerous player on the Bucks because he can take over a game at any moment. So I agree with you. I think he's a Batman. There's still a lot of room for him to grow his game specifically. I don't think I think we're too late into his career for him to become a decent 3-point shooter. But if he can work on a mid-range shot and improve his free throw percentage, I mean, he can become one of the three most dangerous players in the world.
Yeah, he could, and like you said, his perimeter shooting isn't the best. He can still hit shots here and there, but he's better inside the paint. Being tough inside the paint. So, like you said, if he can develop a shot from around 15 feet or between 15 and 20 feet, he'll be dangerous for sure.
Mm-hmm. So let's keep it going with players that are still in the playoffs. Trae Young. I think that it's really early in the career of Trae Young to try and call this. But what I've seen so far, him making big shots in the playoffs, him elevating players around him in the playoffs, him stepping up on the big stage, and getting the Hawks, 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. I think so far what I've seen, Trae Young looks like a Batman to me.
He does, and really depends on who's on his team. On this Atlanta team, he is the Batman, but if you put him on another team with, a similar player, and depending on that player's characteristics and abilities, he could be a Robin. And I think he's fine in both roles, but like you said, what we've seen from him in these playoffs makes him an alpha, and he's Batman.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me is, like you said, I think you put him in a different team, he could be a Robin. For instance, if he's on the Bucks with Giannis, I think Giannis is still the Batman of that team. But what really impresses me about Trae Young, I always knew he was a good shooter. I knew he was a scorer. But the reason why the Hawks are where they're at is because Trae Young has not only played well himself, he's allowed his teammates and the rest of that Hawks team to step up in the playoffs because of how he plays. And I think him elevating the rest of that roster, him making the rest of that team better, is what makes him, a Batman in the making. I think he's definitely an alpha, and he's only 3 years into his career, but you can already tell he's the leader of that Hawks team.
Yeah, he is, and they needed somebody like that. Vince Carter was that guy for a while before he retired. He was that veteran leader, and a guy who could still hit shots even at 41 or 42, however old he was at the time. But he may not be the veteran leader that some teams need, but he certainly can take over when he has to.
All right, let's move out to Phoenix, the team that's in the first team in the NBA Finals. We're gonna do 2-for-1 here. This one's really, really hard. I'm gonna let you go first because I'm curious what you think. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Who's the Batman? Who's the Robin?
This is really hard for me. Personally, people may not like this, but I'm gonna say Chris Paul's the alpha and the Batman on this team.
I agree.
I think he's, and strictly because he's, been in the NBA 16 years and he's worked his tail off to get to this point, and in the NBA Finals, and he's played better ball in these playoffs than Booker has. Before Chris Paul was in Phoenix, Booker was the Batman of that team, no question. But with the addition of Chris Paul and how good that he's been for Phoenix, I think Booker's the Robin to his Batman.
hmm I'm 100% with you. I think that the big difference for me, Devin Booker's one hell of a scorer. Devin Booker's one hell of a player. But the big thing that separates them from me is that Devin Booker, like you said, was the Batman of this team until Chris Paul got there. And the Suns were always a team that missed out on the playoffs, a team that was just not good enough to take that next step. When Chris Paul gets there, they're one of the best teams in the NBA, and they're in the NBA Finals. And I think that winning, that leadership, and that calmness under pressure is what makes Chris Paul the Batman of this team. He's it's his first year in Phoenix, but I think he's grabbed this team's, he's grabbed this locker room by the throat, and he's become the guy that people look up to. And he's not the score. He doesn't have to be the scorer. But when you need a big play in these playoffs, the Suns have turned to Chris Paul more times than not. I mean, to make a big pass, to get a big stop, to hit a big three, to find a way to score, whatever it is. Chris Paul is usually the guy that they come upon, and I mean Devin. That's no slander to Devin Booker. I think of Devin Booker a lot like I think of Kevin Durant and James Harden in Brooklyn. Um, James Harden, one hell of a scorer, one of the most talented, most skilled players in the league, and I feel the exact same way about Devin Booker. But when the game's on the line and you need one play, Brooklyn Nets are going to Kevin Durant, and I think the Phoenix Suns are going to Chris Paul.
Yeah, I think they are as well. And you can get big plays and big shots from either one of these guys, and we've seen it, throughout their entire careers, and especially this year in Phoenix. You can get big shots and big plays from Booker and from Chris Paul, but who's done it more? It's been Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. And consistency is so important in what makes a Batman. I mean, that's the biggest knock on Chris Middleton. I mean, when Chris Middleton's at his best, he looks like a Batman, Parker. But the problem is, Giannis is much more consistent than Chris Middleton is. And Chris Middleton, far too many times, shoots 35% from the field, and that's not good enough to be the alpha of a team. If Chris Middleton had, just 10% more consistency, I think we'd be talking about him as a borderline top 10 player in the NBA because I think he has that kind of talent.
Yeah, yeah. And he's done it everywhere he's been. He did it in New Orleans. He was, arguably the guy in Los Angeles. I think he was the guy in Los Angeles. You had Jordan, DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin there, but Chris Paul was the guy, with the Clippers. But now, you have a tough competition with Devin Booker, but I still think he's the guy in Phoenix.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's get to a team that just got knocked out of the playoffs yesterday. Paul George, is he an alpha or is he a Robin? I know that he's kind of played, the sidekick to Kawhi Leonard over the last couple of years, but Kawhi, we don't know how long he's going to be out with that knee injury. So let's just, for the sake of the game, pretend that Paul George is, like let's pretend this Clippers roster stays the way it is right now without Kawhi Leonard. Is Paul George capable of being a Batman, or are the Clippers going to have to find something out because he's only a Robin?
See, this one's another tough one because I like both of these guys. I do, and and they certainly have their abilities that make them different from each other. But I still think Kawhi's the guy. I do, I think that because even though as good as Paul George is, there's no arguing with how good either of these guys are. But Kawhi has come in and put a stamp on this organization that we didn't see before he got there.
No doubt about it. And I tend to agree. I think Kawhi is the more consistent player, and I think that's what separates them. But at the same time, I think one of the biggest issues that the Clippers have is with both of these guys, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I don't know who, if the Clippers are down one with 5 seconds left, who you going to for the shot to win the game? Because Paul George is obviously notoriously the better scorer, but if Kawhi is your Batman, don't you die with your top guy? You live or you die with your top guy. So I mean, that's always been kind of an issue for me over the last 2 years with the Clippers is do they have that stone cold killer that can hit that shot? I think the Suns have that guy in Devin Booker and even Chris Paul. I think a team like Dallas has that guy in Luka Doncic, who we'll get to in a minute. I think Boston has that guy in Jason Tatum. I think the Warriors have that guy in Steph Curry. But do the Clippers have that guy where you're down one with 5 seconds left, you drop a play for this guy, and you are confident that that shot's going in?
Yeah, they don't have that guy, and the thing is, they go back and forth between George and Leonard, and when you have the guy, you don't go back and forth. There's just
No.
the guy that
Mm-hmm.
you go to every single time. Like you said, the Steph Currys, the Trey Youngs,
Right.
the Giannis Antetokounmpos, and the Michael Jordans of all people, LeBron. There, you need to have that one guy that you go to in a big spot like that, and the
Mm-hmm.
Clippers don't have that right now. They're kind of stuck in between two guys.
Exactly. And I'm a huge Klay Thompson fan. He's one heck of a player, one of the greatest shooters of all time. But unless Klay Thompson has 60 points in a game, if the Warriors need a shot to win, they're going to Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's an outstanding player, all-star caliber shooting guard. But he knows his role on that team, and he knows that if the Warriors need one shot to win, they are going to Stephen Curry.
They are, and like you said, Klay Thompson's a hell of a Robin, and
One of the best in the league.
yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. And he's certainly fantastic, but there's no doubting how good Steph Curry is. He's arguably one of the best. Personally, he is the best shooter of the basketball in league history.
Yes. Yes, no doubt about it. And I mean, that's one of the easier ones. We're not going to get into the Warriors today because I want to kind of break down some of the younger stars. But Steph Curry's definitely a Batman. And I mean, there's no slander there on Klay Thompson. Like we said, one of the best Robins in the league. But just what Steph Curry is able to do to get space, to get shots off, to hit shots at a consistent clip. I feel like as soon as he crosses half court, and even sometimes before he crosses half court, he's a threat to hit a shot from anywhere. And we haven't been able to say that about any player in league history until Steph Curry got to the league. And I know Ray Allen and Reggie Miller and you know Larry Bird, all elite 3-point shooters, but none of them pulled up from half court the way Steph Curry does. Steph Curry is a threat, a weapon from, like I said, half court on. And that's what he's ever since he got to Golden State, he has stepped up as that leader. He's stepped up as that alpha, and he's won championships as an alpha. And I think even when Kevin Durant was there, obviously they won a couple rings. Durant hit a lot of big shots, but I think you ask anybody on that Warriors team, Kevin Durant might have been the most talented player on that team, but I think Steph Curry was still the Batman. I think Steph Curry was still the leader of that team.
Yeah, he was, and you gotta have guys that take over, and Steph Curry did that. And we've seen guys that are, they're capable of that. LeBron's done it throughout his entire career. There's been moments where Kyrie Irving has done it. But the alpha in Brooklyn right now is Kevin Durant, and I don't think there's going to be much argument with that. But Steph Curry's been that guy.
Yeah, so that was a great transition because I actually wanted to go to Brooklyn next. Kevin Durant is a Batman, and I don't think we're going to have to spend too much time debating that. But two guys that I'm very interested in talking about, James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Let's start with Harden. Uh, like I said, I think Harden's one of the most skilled and talented basketball players on the planet. He's won an MVP. He's a gifted scorer. He's a gifted ball handler. Great pure guard. His defense has even improved over the last couple of years. but I think we learned it in Houston, and I think we learned it this year in Brooklyn. He's going to be one of the best Robins in the NBA, but he's going to be a Robin. I don't see the consistency from James Harden, and I don't see the playoff success from James Harden, where it's Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, what have you, and you need a shot to win a game. I don't know if I have enough faith in James Harden to consider him a Batman. And I think as long as those two are, or as long as this Brooklyn roster is the way it is, Brooklyn, Steve Nash is never going to James Harden for the last shot. He's always going to Kevin Durant. And I think what we learned in Houston, he's one hell of a player. He's a guy that could win an MVP. Uh, but I don't know if he's ever going to be a Batman. And that's not a bad thing. But I think it's what we've learned about James Harden for now. I think he's a Robin.
Yeah, he is. And you could have like four Robins on this Brooklyn team because
Facts.
there are that many stars. You could have Kyrie as your Robin, you could have Blake Griffin as your Robin, and Harden as well. So, there's no doubting that Kevin Durant is that Robin. We saw flashes of it from Harden in Houston, and I certainly think that he could be. But when Russell Westbrook got there. You could see that who's taking over and who's leading that team. It was Westbrook. So there are qualities of Harden that could make him that guy, but there's no doubting right now that in Brooklyn it's either Kyrie or it's Harden, and that's an argument for a different day.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I just checked Twitter casually and I just found out Tyler Stevenson hit a walk off for the Reds to beat the Padres, and I'm very happy now. The Reds were 0-6 against the Padres this year until tonight. So, oh my goodness. The Reds are the biggest roller coaster of a baseball team on the planet, man. We're 40-40, but it feels like at times that we should be 50-30, and it feels like at times that we should be 30-50. So I don't know what the frick is going on, but Tyler Stevenson walks it off, and the Reds win it 5-4. What's funny is the Padres have Mark Melancon, who leads the league in saves with 25 and has like a 1.4 ERA. He's given up like 6 runs all year, and 5 of those 6 runs are to the Reds.
That's
So how
crazy.
about that? We just
That's
own Mark
crazy.
Melancon, I guess. We just own Mark
Yeah,
Melancon, I guess.
right. And as we speak, I have, Arizona and San Francisco on right now, and the D-backs are beating San Francisco right now 5-3. Actually, the game just concluded 5-3 final. So that pulls the Dodgers a little bit closer to leading the West. So thank you, Diamondbacks.
There you go. Yeah, no doubt about it. And so let's get back into this. And by the way, I just checked to see how the Reds won it. They were down 4-3 going into the ninth. Kyle Farmer hit a home run to tie the game. So we were at a game where Kyle Farmer homered earlier this year. So for those of you that are Reds fans, you'll recognize this reference. But God's Country, absolutely legendary. Kyle Farmer, I'll tell you what, man. Kyle Farmer is an average MLB shortstop and a really good bench player, but he should not be starting every day for this team. But he's a really fun guy to root for. He's a really fun guy to have in the clubhouse. He's a guy that works hard. He's a guy that obviously he'll never sell you short in work ethic or in just desire to win and play well. Um, and it's good to see him get a big home run tonight for the Reds. And then, like I said, a walk to Tucker Barnhart, a double by Jonathan India, and then a walk off single by Tyler Stevenson. And how good it has have those two rookies been for the Reds this year, Parker? We'll get in our MLB award predictions a little later on in the season, but this season, Jonathan India hitting 268 with a 792 OPS. He had 2 hits today. Was on base 4 times. He's now had 7 games since David Bell made him the leadoff hitter 3 weeks ago, where he's gotten on base 3 times or more in a game. So he's just been an unbelievable leadoff hitter for the Reds. And then Tyler Stevenson, for a rookie catcher, he's hitting 272, 800 OPS, and this year in clutch moments, which they classify as games that are separated by 2 runs or less in the 6th inning or later, Tyler Stevenson's hitting 380 with a team leading 14 RBIs. This is one of the clutchest young kids I've ever seen in my life. And I'm very, very excited for the future of the Reds with Jonathan India and Tyler Stevenson.
Yeah. And he is India's been really good, and both these guys have been fantastic, and surprisingly, like you said, yeah, I bet you're thrilled they're on the Reds and wearing, a red uniform. Um, and because it seems like personally the Reds seem to trade a lot of their prospects before they, have, the chance to do anything relevant. And
Well,
it's just completely opposite here. Both these guys have been really good.
yeah, and I mean, one of the Dodgers' top prospects you can thank the Reds for, Josiah Gray, one of your top pitching prospects. He was drafted by the Reds and traded in that Yasiel Puig deal, but um, yeah, you're absolutely right. The Reds usually either two things that happen to the Reds. They either trade prospects before they hit the majors and they become studs, or they don't trade prospects and then they hit the majors and they flop. So that's kind of the two-sided or the two edges of the sword there for the Reds. But it's good to see. Obviously, you usually see rookies go through these slumps where they kind of figure it out, and we saw it earlier in the year. Jonathan India kind of had a period where he was hitting like 220. It was kind of getting used to big league pitching, but over the last month and a half or so, Jonathan India is hitting 295 with an on base percentage of almost 400 and an OPS of 840. Tyler Stevenson over his last month hitting 290 with an OPS of almost 900. Um, these two kids, I mean, in their rookie seasons, they're contributing to a team that still has a shot to win the division. And it looks like, I mean, barring any injuries, barring any, tough luck or whatever, I think both of these guys could see a couple All Star games in their future.
Yeah, it's possible. They're really good. Naquin's just hitting bomb after
Lakeland's
bomb
had a great year.
after
Mm-hmm.
bomb. And India's been really consistent both defensively and offensively. Two things that the Reds need most is consistent, or the big thing for the Reds that they need is consistency.
Yeah, and what's funny is they called up a guy, and I know not as many, and hardly anybody pays as much attention to the Reds as I do, but they called up a guy named Alejo Lopez, who was hitting 360 in AAA this year. He was actually like considered like the best minor league hitter of the year, and he has been playing third base the last couple of days to try and give Eugenio Suarez a couple of days to clear his head, who has not had a good year. And Alejo Lopez went 4 for 4 tonight, and they were joking, or somebody was joking on Twitter, and I laughed at it. And I love Eugenio Suarez; he's one of my favorite players. But somebody joked and said Alejo Lopez is about to mess around and get as many hits tonight as Suarez has gotten all year. And and I mean, I think this is a good thing for Suarez. It's a good thing for Lopez because he's earned this opportunity, and he's a switch hitter with just really good bat to ball skills. He's only struck out 18 times this year. So he's just great at putting the ball in play, and he has plus speed. And I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. You put the ball on the ground in a tough spot on the infield, you can beat it out for an infield hit. And the Reds need guys like that. And so I think that's good for him. He earns this opportunity, and then it's a good thing for Suarez because the best thing for an athlete to figure stuff out is friendly competition. And now Suarez knows. I think sometimes Suarez has felt like his job was guaranteed. And now he knows, there's a guy on this roster now that's capable of playing third base and that's hitting the ball really damn well. So I got to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, and we'll get into our All Star, our All Star segment here in a little bit, and the Reds have some representatives on the National League All Star
They
team,
do.
so it's been a long time coming for both those guys, and I'm sure Cincinnati Reds fans everywhere have been, yourself included, have been so damn adamant about these guys need all-star votes. They need all-star games. They need this. They need that. But so and you finally get your wish here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I want to get back into this NBA topic. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. I just kind of casually checked Twitter and saw that the Reds actually won a game that I pretty much assumed they were going to lose. So let's get back into it, though. Harden, we kind of established as a Robin. Let's talk about the other guy on the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie's a Robin as well, but I think it's for a different reason. Harden, really talented player. The reason why I don't think he's the Batman is consistency. With Kyrie, I think he has the talent and the consistency. The issue for me is he doesn't have the leadership. I don't think I could see. We've seen it in Boston, and we saw it a little bit before LeBron. Kyrie, I think, is one of the most Kyrie Irving might be the most skilled player in the NBA. He might. He's just unbelievably gifted at the sport of basketball. I mean, it feels like Kyrie Irving doesn't even have to put in a lot of work. He doesn't have to train a lot, and he's just naturally just MVP caliber basketball player. But the thing is, he's inconsistent in a different way than Harden is. Harden's inconsistent on the court and in big moments. Kyrie Irving's inconsistent with his passion for basketball. Sometimes Kyrie Irving lets other stuff get in the way of basketball, and that's his life, and I respect his values. I respect his his political beliefs. But I don't know if I've seen the leadership qualities in Kyrie Irving where I can count on him to oversee a roster or be the guy on a roster because he hasn't always consistently been there, and I think that's for me what makes him a Robin. I feel like a Batman is always there, and I don't know if Kyrie's always been there.
He's not, and it's a problem with Kyrie because like he goes into slumps, as does Harden. And that's what's the issue with some of these guys. Trying to put him in that Batman category is those Batman players don't go into slumps. They're on all 100% of the time. So that's the big issue I have with putting guys like Harden and Kyrie Irving in that spot.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do one that I think this one will be pretty easy for both of us. Luka Doncic in Dallas. I mean, it's only been a couple years, and he has not, had a ton of playoff success yet in terms of getting to the conference finals or whatever, what have you. But this is a guy that's only 21 years old, nearly averaged a triple double this year. He's already made it to the All Star team. He has MVPs in his future. He's hit buzzer beaters in the playoffs. He's hit buzzer beaters in the regular season. He's about as clutch as they come, and he's still a very young kid. He's very clearly the leader of that Mavericks team, and he just seems to get better in the biggest moments, and that's I think the biggest characteristic of a Batman, a guy that not only lives up to the hype, but grows as a player under the bright lights. And Luka Doncic has done that so far. So I know that he hasn't gotten to a conference finals and he doesn't have the playoff success yet. But he looks like a Batman in the making for sure.
He does, and that most of that came out in this year's playoffs, and we saw him take over games, time and time and time again because that's just what he did. And the Mavs have been looking for that guy since they lost Dirk, and they thought they might have had it in KP, but it didn't work out the way they thought, so they still got Doncic as a really solid number one.
No doubt about it. Let's go back to the Eastern Conference and let's do another one. This one's really interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Jason Tatum and um, Tatum, obviously a very similar boat as Luka. I mean, he's gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals, but he's always had Jalen Brown. He had Kemba Walker for a little bit. He had Kyrie Irving for a little bit. He's never really had to be the guy yet. Um, but obviously, I think he has the talent to be the guy. Colin Cowherd put him as a Robin, and I think I disagree with him, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Where do you have Tatum?
Tatum is tough. Right now, he's the Batman in Boston. Like you said, still have Jalen Brown. And both these guys are pretty similar in how they play, but with Jalen Brown being out for the entirety of the playoffs this year, we saw what Tatum can do, and it just put this Celtics team on his back. So he's a number one for me.
I tend to agree, and I know that I think what made him a Batman for me was that series against the Nets in this year's playoffs. I mean, the fact that he put up 40, 50 points a night against a team that they had no business hanging with. And they still were out 4 games to 1, but 4 of those 5 games were nail biters because Jason Tatum was just putting that team on his back. Um, I don't know what he's like in the locker room. I don't know what his leadership qualities are like, but I do know on the court, Jason Tatum's an absolute dog. And if the Celtics are in a close game in the playoffs, I think I learned. I think what I saw this year, I'm confident in Jason Tatum taking that shot for the win.
I am too. And you know, maybe at the beginning of this year we wouldn't have thought that, but you know, he's brought the Celtics to new heights, you know, and he certainly deserves this role for sure.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Washington. Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. This might be an interesting one. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think it's a take that a lot of people might disagree with. I guess that is the definition of a hot take. I don't know. But Westbrook and Beal, I'm going to say Westbrook's the Batman and Beal is the Robin. I think that Beal is like, this is very similar to me as Booker and Paul. Beal is a hell of a scorer. Beal is one heck of a player, all star caliber scorer, unbelievable player. But where I have a problem with Bradley Beal is it seems like he's almost content in Washington. Um, I feel like if he was a true Batman, he would have by now either demanded change from the front office or demanded a trade out of Washington. I don't think Curry would have put up with that. I don't think LeBron would have put up with that. I don't think Kevin Durant would have put up with that. Beal's almost kind of, sat there, collected a paycheck, and been like, hey, we're a 500 team or below, but I'm getting paid and I'm putting up 30 points a game. So it doesn't really impact me. Russell Westbrook, to me, I know he gets a lot of criticism. He still averages a triple double. Yeah, he could be better in the playoffs, but he has an alpha dog mentality. I don't think many people would disagree with that. He's a very alpha dog on the court, and I think the Wizards are a better team with Russell Westbrook on the court, obviously, than they are with him off the court. And I think that this is one of the tougher ones we've had so far because I think if it comes down to a final shot, I'd rather Beal take it than Westbrook. But if the Wizards need one play to win a game, whether it's a defensive stop or a score or an assist or whatever, I'm going to Westbrook. I think.
Yeah, I am too. Like you said, this one's really tough. It is because we've seen Beal hit big shots in big moments, and that's what part of this factors into. But we haven't seen that leadership quality from Beal. And like you said, it seems like he's content. He's getting paid in Washington and getting paid well. But all these alpha dogs want to go somewhere and win championships, and we haven't
Mhm.
seen that from Beal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's really what separates them from me. Say what you want about Russell Westbrook. Criticize him all you want for being a ball hog or a stat patter or a first round exit in the playoffs every year. But everywhere Russell Westbrook goes, that team does better than they did before he got there, and that there's nothing that Russell Westbrook hates more than losing. I mean, everywhere Russell Westbrook's gone, it's all about winning. And I don't know why there's that stereotype that people think that the triple doubles are just him stat padding and he doesn't care about winning. Because if you look at the stat, teams that have Russell Westbrook on their roster are like 83 and 16 when he puts up a triple double. So when he puts up a triple double, it's clearly helping the team win.
Yeah, it is, and we might not see that for some people, but it's just a fact. That's what's happening. So, and putting up stats is part of a triple double. I mean that's what it is. And he's the best in the NBA at it, and he does it seemingly every 2 weeks, and it's an insane stat, but it's just the reality of what happens. So I certainly believe that in Washington, Westbrook is the Batman.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, I have three more that I want to do, and then we're going to move into the All Star game picks for the MLB. We're going to start off with a guy that I don't know where the heck he's going to play next year, Damian Lillard. And I think you and I are going to be on the same page here that I think he's got Batman qualities. He's hit so many clutch shots. He's a top tier scorer. He's a top tier leader. He's a great playmaker. The only reason why this is a little tougher than I thought it might be is because of the situation that we're in right now with Damian Lillard. And he's taken the Blazers to the Western Conference Finals, but he's never really won anything with Portland. And if he gets traded to a team like Boston, to a team like Dallas, to a team like LA, he's going to be a Robin for the first time in his career. So the talent and I think the mentality to be a Batman But the future, I don't know with Damian Lillard. So what are your thoughts on Dame?
It's tough. It really is. We don't know what the situation is going to turn out to be, in Portland. Will Chauncey Billups get him to stay? We don't know, but I'm going with where he's at right now, and he's the alpha in Portland.
Yeah, he is, no doubt about it. And like I said, I think he has the Batman mentality. He hits big shots. He does not shy away from the moment. He pushes his teammates to be better. Um, I think that he's definitely a Batman in Portland. Uh, what makes this tough is like a Batman like Kevin Durant or LeBron James has won championships, has uh, consistently been in in the conference finals, in the NBA finals. With Damian Lillard, we've seen one trip to the conference finals, and that's it. And I mean, that's not Damian Lillard's fault. He's obviously a great player, puts up great numbers year after year, and the Blazers consistently make the playoffs. But is that something else we're going to consider in this? Is their full on team success in the playoffs? And if that's the case, Lillard might be wanting to leave Portland because he hasn't been able to get over that hump as Batman. And that's something you have to consider. I think he's still a Batman, but it's a tougher debate than I think it would have been a year or two ago. If you asked me 2 years ago this same question, I mean, without hesitation, I would have said Damian Lillard's a Batman. But now I still think he is, but it's a lot closer.
Yeah, it's really close, and he has that clutch mentality to where he can take over anytime, and you could argue he's the best in the NBA with it. But the issue I have is we don't know how this whole, where he's going to play thing is going to turn out. Will he be traded? I don't know. It's looking more and more certain that he will be traded, but it's still a possibility that he's still there in Portland come next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. And all right, so two more here that I want to do tonight. Donovan Mitchell in Utah, and this one is another one where Utah hasn't had a ton of, they haven't. They were the one seed this year, but they fell in the second round of the Clippers. They haven't been in the conference finals yet. Donovan's been there, but just this is very similar to Luka and Trey Young. Not a lot of time in the NBA, but Donovan does not shy away from the moment. Donovan just there's a level of comfort with Donovan Mitchell where you just have a feeling he's going to make the play, he's going to make the stop, he's going to make the shot. He just seems like one of those guys that elevates his game on the biggest stage. So for me, I think it's pretty clear that Donovan's the Batman in Utah. But I think he's a Batman almost anywhere he'd go. I think you could put him on almost any team in the NBA, and he's their number one guy. And very similarly to, like I said, with Tatum, Utah Jazz or whoever, down by one, down by two with 3 seconds to go. If you're drawing up a play for Donovan Mitchell to get the last shot, I feel pretty damn good about hitting that shot.
So do I, and he's proven that he's been really good for Utah. He comes in and was a bit of a surprise to everybody about how good he was, and he just takes over, and he has that clutch gene to where he can take over games anytime he feels like it. So Donovan is definitely the Batman for me.
And then the final one I want to do tonight is a tough one because it's a guy that I think has all the talent in the world, and he is um, one of the top players in the league at his position. But he plays for a team that hasn't been very good while he's been there. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Carl Anthony Towns. Um, I'm gonna say he's a Robin. I think he could still be a very, very great, very, very top tier number two for a championship caliber team. He strikes me a lot as like a um, hmm, who would I compare him to? I don't. I'm trying to think. Maybe like a Bam Adebayo in Miami, like that kind of guy. Where Jimmy's obviously the one, but Bam's a really good number two. Or another one with the uh, Boston Celtics when Paul Pierce was very clearly the number one, but you had Kevin Garnett in the middle. Um, so I think Cat could be a very good number two, or a guy that we haven't even talked about tonight. We talked about Booker and Chris Paul, and deservedly so, but DeAndre Ayton's been unreal in these playoffs, and it's about time. I mean, DeAndre Ayton's the Suns' third best option right now. But let's be real, he's been playing like a number two in these playoffs, and I think that's what I think of when I think of Cat. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to a point where I want Carl Anthony Towns hitting a shot for the win in the playoffs, or if I want Carl Anthony, playing through Carl Anthony Towns in a playoff game. But if I have a playoff team and you give me one of those guys like we mentioned earlier, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, um, Jason Tatum, even a guy like Chris Paul, and then Carl Anthony Towns is playing center on that team as the number two. I think that's a pretty dang good team.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And Carl Anthony Towns has had his moments, in his career that we look at him and say, "Gosh, he's really good." But last few years, we haven't seen that because Minnesota hasn't been that great. So I think we need to get, if they want to be really competitive, they need to get one of these max players coming out this year. So maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't. But he, like you said, he's going to be very similar to Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, to where whoever is with Carl Anthony Towns will be that number one, but Cat is a really good number two.
Yeah, he sure is. So that was a lot of fun. That was I enjoyed that, and again, Colin Cowherd did that earlier in the week. Um, that he uh, who's the Batman, who's the Robin in the NBA, and I mean some of those were pretty easy. Like I think it's pretty easy to tell Luke is a Batman. I think it's pretty easy to tell that Giannis is a Batman. But some of those were a lot harder than I thought they'd be. Like um, the Russell Westbrook versus Bradley Beal thing, or one that I did not think would be as hard as it was. How do we perceive Damian Lillard at this point? Because, like we said, Lillard's been a Batman his whole career, and Lillard plays like a Batman. But if he gets traded to LA, obviously he's not going to be the Batman because LeBron's the Batman. If he gets traded to Dallas, he's not going to be the Batman because Luka's the Batman. If he gets traded to Boston, who's the Batman between Lillard and Tatum? I mean, that's a coin flip. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for Damian Lillard. But some of those were a lot tougher than I thought they'd be for sure.
Yeah, they were. And they're surprising. You really don't think about this until you have to, and some of them were more difficult than I expected, like you said.
So let's get into this, Parker. They named the All Star starters tonight in the MLB. Let's just quickly break these down, go over them really quick. Um, not a ton going into this. It's just something to talk about before we get into our tier list here today. We'll start with the American. We'll start with catchers. Excuse me. In the American League, Salvador Perez. This will be his sixth All-Star game start. 10 seasons in the league, almost 1,000 games behind the plate. Salvador Perez is having arguably his best ever stretch as a hitter. He's slugging 515 with 10 home runs this year, and he's third across the majors in total hard hit balls. I voted for Salvi. I completely agree with this one. He deserves to be the starter. The other finalists were Martin Maldonado and Yasmani Grandal, both of who have had solid seasons. But this one was pretty easy. I think Salvador Perez has been by far and away the best catcher in the American League this year.
He has, and the Royals aren't the greatest, um, but Salvi has been what we're used to seeing Salvi do, and he's one of the best catchers in baseball, and that proves that there's no doubt for me that Salvi's got to be the American League catcher.
The National League catcher Buster Posey, his fifth All Star game start. This is one of the better stories of the year. He's really fixed his career. He opted not to play last year in the pandemic season. He rejuvenated his career this year. He's looking like the catcher every single day. He's looking more like the catcher who won the MVP in 2012. He is hitting 330, a 420 on base percentage, a 560 slugging percentage. His on base or his OPS, Parker, nearly 1,000 at 978, with 12 home runs also on the year, which is as many home runs as he hit the last 3 seasons combined. Runner-ups were Yadier Molina, Wilson Contreras, both of who are great catchers. But this is the best storyline in baseball this year, honestly. And I know you're a Dodgers fan, and I know you don't like the Giants, but I think you'll be 100% in agreement here that Buster Posey might have deserved an All Star appearance over anyone else at any position.
Yeah, yeah, he did. And you know, one of the ones that, complete unknown really. Um, no one expected to be, Buster to be as good as he's been. No one expected the Giants to be good as they are. It bothers the hell out of me that they're leading the division, but they are. And, they're really good. And Buster deserves to be in this spot because, he's really revived his career this season.
He has no doubt about it. And so we'll move on to first base. In the American League, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. breaks the record for youngest player in the history of baseball to lead the league in voting. Only 22 years old, and he's deserved it, man. A 2 year kind of meh start to his career, where people were starting to say maybe he's not as good as he was hyped up to be, but he's been unbelievable this year. He was the leading vote getter, like I said. He's the youngest player ever to lead the MLB in All Star voting. He entered this weekend 26 home runs, a 341 batting average, and he also leads the league in RBIs. Actually, he just got passed today by Rafi Devers, but he's second in the league in RBIs. Yuli Gurriel, Jose Abreu. Jose Abreu is the reigning MVP. Yuli Gurriel's had one heck of a year. This one might have been the easiest one across any position in both leagues. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the MVP, an MVP candidate as of right now. He's been the best hitter in both leagues all year long, and he definitely deserves to be the starting first baseman.
Yeah, yeah, and he does. Like you said, he's one of the, the leading MVP candidates for the American League this season, and deservingly so. He's been, like we, just, coming off that last segment, he's been the Batman to Bo Bichette's Robin in
Mm-hmm.
Toronto this year. He's been really good. And it's like you said, first game All-Star game start with runners up being Gurriel and Abreu, but no doubt in my mind that Vladdy was, going to be here.
In the National League, this will be the first one that is kind of up for debate. Freddie Freeman gets the nod, the reigning NL MVP. He's not having quite the year that we're used to from Freddie Freeman. He has an 843 OPS, 17 home runs. He did pass Max Muncy and Anthony Rizzo, and ends up getting the start. It's crazy to say that Freddie Freeman's having a down year and he still has an All Star caliber numbers with 17 homers and an 843 OPS. I'm fine with Freddie Freeman. I love Freddie Freeman, and I think he's a great player. But this was the first one where really I wouldn't have been that upset with any of the three choices. I think Rizzo, Freeman, and Muncy have all had really good years, and they all had very similar numbers. So Freeman gets the nod, and I'm fine with that. But if either of the other two had won, I wouldn't be upset either.
Right. And, this is one that Freddie has been, his third All-Star game start, like he said. Both the guys right underneath him deserve to be here as well. But I know Freddie's just been, the All-Star game is a, popularity contest. Really, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie's, been the most popular first baseman in arguably all of baseball, over the last 2, 3 seasons.
Yeah, he sure has. At second base, I think the fan voting, like you said, sometimes it's just a popularity contest. But I think at second base, the fans did a really nice job with both of these guys. We'll start in the American League with Marcus Semien. This will be his first ever All Star game start for the Blue Jays. What a year he's had with the Blue Jays. He's one of three Blue Jays to get a starting spot in the All Star game. But he's been really, really good. He won AL Player of the Month in May. He beats out DJ LeMahieu and Jose Altuve, but he's hitting 285, 20 home runs. He's been such a good player for the Blue Jays this year. They took a chance after he had a down year in Oakland. He was an MVP finalist in 2019, had a down year last year. Blue Jays took a chance on him, gave him a 1 year deal, and he's rewarded them. He looks like an MVP again. And Marcus Semien absolutely deserves it here. Jose Altuve's had a heck of a year. DJ LeMahieu's a heck of a hitter, but Semien I think was the golden standard from as soon as voting opened.
He was, and this has been he's been really good, and who another guy we didn't expect to be this good. Like you said, didn't have the best year in Oakland, last season, but he comes in and really sets the Blue Jays apart from really anybody else in baseball. You could argue that the Blue Jays infield is arguably one of the best in all of baseball with Semien,
Mhm.
Bichette, and Vladdy Jr. It's possible that they're really good. Also with Kevin Biggio at third base, so really good team here in Toronto, and Semien's just another part of that.
Absolutely. And in the National League, one of the worst teams in the league, the Pittsburgh Pirates, but it's Adam Frazier getting his first start in the All Star game. He's had an unbelievable season, hitting 327, a 395 on base percentage, a 471 slugging percentage. So his OPS at about 860, an 11.1 strikeout percent rate in an era of slugging and strikeouts. He's a great contact hitter that's getting on base and hitting the ball at a high level. He's about as tough to strike out as they come. He got a late push to overtake Ozzy Albies, who was the leader after phase one. Ozzy Albies has had one heck of a year, and I wouldn't have been upset if he got the start. But like we said earlier, this is a popularity contest. I expected Ozzy Albies to win just because of how popular he is. But it's good to see Adam Frazier get the nod because I think he's earned it with the year he's had.
Yeah, he has, and um, Frazier, like you said, he's not on a great team. And personally, I think it's just a matter of time before he gets traded, because that's what the Pirates do with everybody good that they have. But nevertheless, Adam Frazier deserves to be in this spot because 327, 395, 471, with an insanely low strikeout rate, is quite honestly deserving of an All-Star game bid.
No doubt about it. Third base, Rafi Devers gets the start at third for the American League. This will be his first start in the All Star game. Guerrero, Semien, and Devers give the American League three first time All Stars in the infield. Devers also hit his 20th home run of the year on Thursday. He hit his 21st home run of the year earlier today, I believe. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He hit his 20th home run of the year yesterday. I forgot today was Friday for a second, but he leads the majors in RBIs. He beats out Alex Bregman and Yohan Moncada for this spot. I have no problems with this one at all. I voted for Rafi Devers. I think he earned it. Bogarts and JD Martinez get a lot of credit for being some of the best hitters on the Red Sox. They've been one of the best offensive teams all year long. Kike Hernandez, Alex Verdugo, Hunter Renfro's had quite the year. And then obviously, like I said, Bogarts and JD Martinez are the two big dogs that they talk about. But I feel like Rafi Devers is still somehow underrated, but he's so good and he's still only 24 years old. So I'm excited to watch the career of Rafi Devers unfold, but I think he earned this start.
Yeah, yeah, he does, and another heck of an infield in Boston. With that left side especially is two really good guys. In Devers and in Bogarts. But Devers has been just as good, as anybody in the league at third base. So, he's an insanely good slugger. Leads baseball in RBIs, and and has 20 home runs. So, he's certainly deserving of the spot.
He sure is. National League, this is another tough one um, with between Nolan Arenado, Justin Turner, and Chris Bryant. Arenado gets the nod. It'll be his fourth start in the All Star game. Uh, his worst offensive season in the majors. Arenado is hitting 16 home runs and 52 RBIs on the year heading into this weekend. Um, he ends up winning it over Chris Bryant and Justin Turner. This was a tough one for me. I ended up voting for Chris Bryant just because I thought he had a really good year after having a couple down years in a row. It started to look like he was coming back to his MVP caliber form. But like I said, Justin Turner and Nolan Arenado, both absolutely gifted baseball players. And I'm never gonna get mad about Nolan Arenado being in the All Star game. So I can't complain. I may have voted for Chris Bryant, but I mean, it's not like Nolan Arenado didn't deserve to be here.
No, and he's certainly, um, you know, the one of the best third basemen in all of baseball. As good as as years like Turner and Bryant are having. Arenado deserves to be here for the National League because he's been one of the most popular players in all of baseball, and he's certainly really freaking good. So he's got his run scoring ability back. And Bryant led after phase one, but Arenado comes out with it because quite honestly he deserves it.
Hmm. Um, let's get to shortstops, Parker. This might be, the best position we've talked about so far because both of these guys are just absolute studs. Xander Bogaerts in the American League, his second All Star game start. The Blue Jays will have the right side of the infield with Semien and Guerrero. The Red Sox hold down the left side with Devers and Bogaerts. Bogaerts, his last time starting in the All Star game actually came in 2016 when he was 23 years old. Now he's 28. But Christian Vasquez and Matt Barnes and Eduardo Rodriguez, the only members of the Red Sox from that year that are still with the team. Bogaerts edges out Bo Bichette and Carlos Correa for this spot. He's hitting 326 on the year, an OPS of, I believe, 925. Xander Bogaerts, we talked about it on our shortstop tier list a couple weeks, a week or two ago. Xander Bogaerts, in my opinion, is the best hitting shortstop in baseball and maybe the best shortstop in baseball. And I voted for Xander Bogaerts, and I'm very happy that he gets to be the starting shortstop.
Yeah, I did too. And Bogarts is quite possibly an MVP candidate in the American League for Boston because he's playing really really well. He hits for contact and he's really really good at getting on base. And he's like you said, one of the few players from the 2016 team that are still on the roster. So this is a guy who honestly deserved to be here. I voted for him as well.
No, and then in the National League, Fernando Tatis Jr. gets the nod. It'll be his first start in the All Star game. Um, Tatis will make his All Star debut after receiving more votes than any other player in the National League. He went into the weekend leading the league with a 705 slugging percentage and leading the National League in home runs. He beats out Javier Baez and Brandon Crawford. I'm not going to lie to you. I voted for Crawford because I thought it was a cool story. He's had a heck of a year for the Giants. I like cool stories. But over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, Tatis has just been on a tear. And at this point, his numbers are just too good to overlook. I mean, Fernando Tatis is an MVP candidate in the National League right now with guys like Castellanos and DeGrom. So I think as much as sometimes we feel like he's maybe a little overrated or overhyped by the media, his numbers back it up, and he deserves to be the starting shortstop for the National League.
Yeah, he does. This is really no surprise here. I think the bigger surprise is why Javi Baez is one of the runners up. And I know we've both voiced our opinions on Javi Baez. But the one that I'm really, I expected this a lot because he's been really good is Brandon Crawford. I know a runner up as well. He surprised everybody, but Tatis makes it here. No, I don't think anybody's surprised by it.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to the outfields for both the American League and the National League. We'll start with the American League. It is Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, and Teoscar Hernandez that are the three outfielders that win it. Trout is actually on the 60-day injured list and won't be able to play, but it is his seventh All-Star game start. But he was the leading vote getter, so he keeps his streak alive of earning an All-Star game nod in each of his eligible seasons. Aaron Judge gets his third All Star game appearance. Judge has had a great year. The Yankees have been inconsistent, but Judge has had a great year. 18 home runs, 38 barrels, and his batted his third in the majors in exit velocity, launch angle. I mean, Aaron Judge is just a slugger if you've ever seen one. And then Teoscar Hernandez, uh, his spot didn't come easy. He fought hard with guys like Byron Buxton, Michael Brantley, Cedric Mullins. But he's hitting 302 with an OPS of about 840, 11 home runs, and 47 RBIs. And that's a guy that uh, is also, trying to keep up with guys like Semien, Bichette, Guerrero in this lineup. So he's had a heck of a year. He deserves to be there. It'll be interesting to see who they replace Trout with. If Buxton's able to go, I'd assume they'd go with Byron Buxton. But I know Buxton just fractured his hand. And if he can't go, I hope they go with Cedric Mullins because Cedric Mullins hitting 330 this year for a really bad Orioles team, but he's been one of the best players in baseball all year long, and I hope they reward him.
Yeah, Trout won't be able to go, obviously. And he deserves to be here because before he got hurt, he was really good. I think they'll go with Buxton, but like you said, Mullins has been fantastic.
Yeah, Byron Buxton, like I said, fractured his hand a couple weeks ago. If Buxton's able to play, I mean, Byron Buxton's been unreal this year. I think he's hitting 360 in his time on the field this year. So Byron Buxton, if he can play, deserves to play. But Cedric Mullins has had quite the year, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think Cedric Mullins makes the team as a bench guy anyway. Um, but if Buxton can't play, I'd love to see Cedric Mullins in the starting lineup. For the National League, it is Ronald Acuna Jr., Nick Castellanos, and Jesse Winker. So a pair of Reds get in the starting lineup. Acuna gets his second All Star game start. He enters the weekend actually, Parker, with an identical OPS as last year at 987. So that's kind of interesting. Talk about consistency. He's well on his way to his second 30 home run, 30 steal campaign, and maybe even his first 40-40 season. The last guy that I can remember having consistent 40-40 seasons was Alfonso Soriano. So Acuna is quite the talent. Castellanos, we knew Castellanos was among the game's best hitters, but he's taking it to a whole new level this year, leading the league with a 346 batting average with a 1002 OPS. He has 102 hits and 27 doubles, which both lead the league. And Jesse Winker, Winker has become an elite level offensive player this season, setting career highs in homers with 19 and RBIs with 48. So I know you're a Dodgers fan. I'm sure you wanted to see Mookie Betts and Chris Taylor, but I'm trying to put my biased Reds fans' glasses away. But I think Acuna, Castellanos, and Winker had the three best stat lines. I think they got it right.
They do, and if for some reason something happens between now and then where any one of those three guys aren't able to go, I know it will. I believe it will go to either Betts or Taylor, probably Betts, but Taylor is just as deserving of an All-Star game bid. Dave Roberts has fought and clawed his way to get Chris Taylor to the All-Star game. Just hasn't happened for him, but there's no doubt that all three of these guys are well deserving of um, you know the All-Star game. Acuna has been really consistent throughout his entire career. And Castellanos and Winker have, brought the Reds to new levels. Even though you complain about the Reds constantly, they've been the two, bright spots for the Reds. So, definitely deserving.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the last player we're going to talk about here today is the American League designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani gets his first ever All Star game start. JD Martinez and Jordan Alvarez have had great years for their clubs, but like, come on, man. I mean, if you didn't vote for Shohei Ohtani when you filled out your All Star game ballot, like, I don't know what you were doing. Shohei Ohtani has had an unbelievable year. He leads the world, 28 home runs at the plate, a 3.6 ERA, and 83 strikeouts, and that's after he gave up 7 runs in less than an inning. It was at a 2.58 ERA like 3 days ago. Um, he's going to the home run derby. He's going to be starting as the DH in the All Star game. Otani has a chance to, be an even bigger staple than he already is. He's going to be all over All Star weekend. And if the season ended today, as good as Guerrero's been, nobody's made more of an impact this season than Shohei Otani, and he'd be my vote for MVP.
Yeah, he would mine, be mine as well. It'd be him and Vladdy Jr. MVP in the American League. So, um, but I would honestly pick Otani here because he's been just as good at the plate as he has been on the mound. He got rocked pretty good last night, but he certainly has certainly deserves to be here, and I can't wait to see him put on a show in the home run derby.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So that's just our kind of initial reactions to the All Star starters tonight. They'll announce the reserves and stuff, as we get closer to the All Star game coming up on July 13th. So let's end the show, Parker, with this tier list of the best sodas. So um, I'm excited for this, but we'll share the screen here. We have our S, A, B, C, D, F, and then our never had tier. I think we have a lot of good variety here. We have some that I've never had before, never even heard of before. But we have a lot of good stuff on here. The only thing that we don't have on here is something what we're going to start off with just to make sure that we get to it. Mountain Dew Baja Blast, Parker, and I know that we're both going to put that in S tier. It is an absolutely iconic soda, and it is there's nothing like it in terms of taste, and it's so hard to find. Taco Bell took an absolute win, getting the exclusive rights to that. But Mountain Dew Baja Blast is an absolute top tier drink.
It is. And, I have no argument. And if you've never had it, go to Taco Bell just for it because it's worth it.
It sure is. All right, we're gonna start it off, Parker. We're just gonna go in order of how they gave it to us here. We'll start off with Seven Up. Um, Seven Up is okay. I'm not gonna lie to you, Parker. I really only drink Seven Up when I'm sick, um, but it's not bad. It's lemon lime. I think is a cool vibe for a soda. It's just not the best lemon lime soda, and we'll get to that one here a little bit later on this list of what I think is the best lemon lime soda. So I'm gonna stick Seven Up kind of right dab in the middle of C tier. I don't think it's bad by any means, and if it's a drink that's available at a party, I'll definitely drink it. But I don't go out of my way to drink Seven Up by any means.
Yeah, I don't either. Like you said, 7 Up means I'm sick. And, I don't drink it, by choice. If there's other options, I'll consider other options, but, it's a C tier for me.
So let's get on to A&W Cream Soda. Cream soda is really really good, and I like cream soda a lot. But my thing is, I don't drink cream soda enough to I think put it in a top tier. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's something different that I like to mix things up with every now and then. But it's not something that I feel like I could drink super consistently. And I'm trying to save S and A for drinks that I feel like I drink more consistently. So cream soda is a nice change of pace every now and then, but it's B tier for me. It's above average for sure, but I don't know if I can put it in top tier.
So I'm not a big cream soda person. I'm not. It's gonna be D tier for me. It is.
Okay.
I've never been I've never gotten into the whole cream soda vibe.
Okay. I respect that. Regular A&W. A&W is a solid root beer. It's not the worst on this list, but it's also not the best on this list. It's by no means, there's three big root beer companies that are solid. The best, by the way, is Chicago Style at Costco. But for me, I'm gonna put this in B. It's solid. I don't drink as much root beer as I did when I was younger, but A&W is still a solid choice. I don't go out of my way to drink it like I used to. But if I have a can of A&W, I'm not complaining by any means.
No, I'm not either. Like I said, or like you said, it's not my favorite, but I'll drink it when I have the chance.
All right, let's move on to Barks. Barks is A tier for me, man. Barks is my favorite of the big three. Um, it's because it's my it's in my experience, it's the closest thing to adult root beer, in the sense that it has that burn. When you swallow a sip of Barks, it singes your throat in a good way, and in the words of one of my favorite baseball analysts, Mark Luino, if you don't drink Barks for the burn, you're soft. But A&W and one that we're going to get to in a little bit, Mug, just a little too sweet for me at times. I like the fact that Barks changes it up and has that burn, and I think it's really, really good. So I have it in A tier. It's my favorite of the big three.
Yeah, it's gonna be A tier for me as well. Like you said, the others are a little too sweet for me. You want a little. It's nice to have a little bit of a kick.
Yeah. Let's get on to Big Red. I don't think I've. Is this like one of those Special K ones?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever had it.
I don't either. I was trying to think of a time where I've had it. I feel like I've heard the name Big Red, but I don't think I've had it. So I'm going to put it in the never had tier. And that brings us to another one that I've definitely never had. I can't even read this full name. Is this what does this say? Cactus. I don't even know what that says. Cactus cocktail, whatever that says. But I've never had it for sure. I've never even seen
Yeah,
that
I
can
haven't
before.
either. I couldn't tell you what it is.
Canada Dry ginger ale. Ginger ale is okay. I didn't like it as much when I was younger. Um, I'm gonna put it atop the top of C tier. I think it's better than Seven Up. I did not like ginger ale when I was younger. I think it's okay now. I still don't drink ginger ale very often on its own, and when I do, I prefer Verner's over Canada Dry. But I will say now that I'm of legal drinking age, that ginger ale goes very, very well with rum, and that's a very nice duo. So ginger ale definitely has more uh, appearances uh, as a drink for me than it did when I was younger.
Yeah, I'm a big ginger ale fan. It's gonna be B tier for me.
Okay.
I don't drink it very often, but when I do, it's pretty enjoyable.
All right. This next one is one that I almost put it in B tier, by the way. So I think we're closer than it might seem. This one I've never even heard of until now. Ginger ale and lemonade. It sounds pretty good. We're gonna have to see if we can find this, Parker. Maybe we might have to put some in the fridge in the office, but I've definitely never had it.
I haven't either. Before we talked about this, or before we started the show today, I haven't heard of it, and I didn't know it existed. So we'll have to see if we can find that.
Cherry Seven Up. I've had Cherry Seven Up. It's not. I like cherry drinks. I know some people don't like it because they say it tastes like medicine. But I like cherry drinks. It's um, but cherry Seven Up's not one of my favorite ones. It's not great. It's too sweet, and I don't think Seven Up and cherry kind of mix. So it's gonna be D tier for me. I'm not a fan of cherry Seven Up. Um, it's rare that I prefer the the base original drink to some of the alternatives. But that's the case. I'd rather just drink a regular Seven Up than cherry Seven Up.
Yeah, I can't give an opinion here because I don't think I've ever had cherry 7 Up. So yeah, it's I never had.
All right, cherry Coke. Cherry Coke's really, really good. I love cherry Coke. I'm gonna put it in A. I'm not gonna put it in S because I don't drink it enough to put it in S. Um, but it's really, really good. It might be my favorite cherry soda. It's close. Between one and one, I'm gonna get to in a little bit. But it's really, really good. Cherry Coke is probably their best, specialty alternative drink. And obviously Coke does it right. So A tier for me, cherry Coke is definitely, definitely very, very good.
I'm with you here. I'm a big cherry Coke fan. It's really good, and yeah, I like it. A tier.
All right, let's get to regular Coke. I feel like I'd be doing it a disservice if I didn't put it in S tier, Parker. I don't drink regular Coke a ton, but it's the goat of soft drinks. I mean, Coke laid the Coke laid the groundwork. Coke walked so some of these other soft drinks could run. Um, so even though I don't drink it a ton, and even though there's drinks that I prefer to regular Coke's definitely an S tier soda because it's the Michael Jordan of soft drinks.
Yes, it is, and there's no doubt, in that because, like you said, they were the grandfather of all, soft drinks. So it's definitely S tier.
Let's get on to vanilla Coke. I haven't had straight vanilla Coke very often. I've had orange vanilla Coke, which I love a lot. If orange vanilla Coke was on this list, I'd probably put it in high B tier. Um, Regular vanilla Coke is okay, not great. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of C. It's a little too sweet for me. And if I want a sweet kind of Coke vibe, I definitely go cherry Coke any day over vanilla Coke. So it's okay. You drink, one or two a year, and it's a nice change of pace. But it's nothing I go out of my way for.
I drink vanilla Coke more often than most people, I think. It's gonna be a solid B tier, soda for me. I would probably, take a cherry Coke over a vanilla Coke, but it's still solid for me.
Okay. Coke Zero. I don't hate Coke Zero as much as some people do. Um, I think some people just have, absolutely zero respect for Coke Zero. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty decent for a diet, 0 calorie, zero sugar kind of vibe. It's still not great, and there's still things I'd pick over it. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of C tier. But if I'm for some reason restricted to only diet sodas, Coke Zero is one of the better ones you could have. It's probably the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that I like better than Coke Zero as a diet soda is Diet Dr Pepper.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Coke Zero fan. It's certainly not horrible, but I'd probably put it in a similar spot, closer to the end of C tier.
All right, let's get to Crystal Pepsi. I don't think I've ever had Crystal Pepsi, Parker. I've definitely seen the can and I've heard about it, but I don't think I've ever tasted it. So I don't think I can give an opinion on this one.
I can't either. I've honestly never heard of Crystal Pepsi.
Diet Coke. Diet Coke is not great. Um, I'm gonna put it in D. The only reason why it's not an F is because I'm saving F for a drink that I think is worse, and I'm saving F for if this drink is not on here, but I would throw this in F as well. Caffeine-free Diet Coke is in F tier, but regular Diet Coke is slightly better than caffeine-free Diet Coke, so it's D tier for me. It's still not very good.
I don't think Diet Coke is that bad. It's going to be C tier for me. I don't
Okay.
drink it a ton, but if the option's there, I'll take it.
This next one, Parker, we talked about it a little bit before the show. Um, Diet Coke Lime. I've never had it before. I'm gonna put it in never had. But it sounds like an S tier drink. It does not sound very good.
Right. Yeah, I know we both saw that on here and we are like, "What?" We don't I've never had that, but it sounds horrible.
Yeah. So this next one, this is probably barring any very sudden change of opinion. This is probably going to be my lowest rated drink of the day. Diet Pepsi. It's going in F tier. It's the grossest diet drink I've ever had in my life. Um, Diet Pepsi is already kind of naturally sweeter than Coke, but then you take away that sweetness in Diet Pepsi, and it's just kind of fizzy, bubbly, gross, watered down sludge, and it is absolutely disgusting. Diet Coke is better than Diet Pepsi any day of the week. Diet Pepsi, I'd rather drink. If there's nothing available at a party except for Diet Pepsi, like I'd rather drink hose water.
Yeah, and that's saying a lot. I am not the biggest Diet Pepsi person either. I haven't had it a whole lot, but like I said, from what I hear, not great.
Dr. Pepper comes up next, Parker. Dr. Pepper is S tier for me. Dr. Pepper is my favorite. Hmm, I don't know how I want to word that. I'd say it's my favorite soda that I drink relatively consistently. It's really, really good. It's a very unique flavor, especially the Dr. Pepper 23, which is on the can here. Their kind of new blend. It's really, really, it's a really unique taste. It's got sweetness to it, but it's not too sweet. It's got a little bit of bite to it, but it's not, too intense. It's a really good balance of sweet but not too sweet and a very unique flavor. I love Dr. Pepper, and if it's available at a party, I'll probably be drinking it more times than not.
You know, I'm not as high on Dr. Pepper as most people. I'm just not. I don't know. I've always been that way. It's still solid. Don't get me wrong. It's gonna be A tier for me, but I just don't think I would probably take a regular Coke over a Dr. Pepper to be honest with you.
Okay, okay, I respect that. Fanta, Fanta. I'm trying to think. I don't drink orange soda a bunch, but I'm trying to think what I prefer between Fanta Crush and Sunkist. And I think, if I remember correctly, Fanta is my favorite. Because it is not. I know Sunkist is the sweetest, and I don't like that. And I think Crush is kind of too artificial orange taste. I think Fanta's the best, if I remember correctly. Fanta does the best job of having an orange taste, um, but not having it be too sweet. It's almost kind of like carbonated orange juice, and I respect that. I still don't drink orange soda enough to make it a very high tier. But I'll put it at the end of B because it's okay. I have it, once or twice every couple months. It's a nice change of flavor. And I think, like I said, if I remember correctly, I think Fanta is my favorite of the orange sodas.
Yeah, I'm a big, I don't drink orange soda, since I haven't drank it since I was probably like 12 years old, but um, I like it. I do. I haven't had the three different flavors of it, to be honest with you. I've had Fanta and Sunkist, but I haven't had Crush, but Fanta's, pretty solid B tier.
All right. Let's do. This is Fanta strawberry. Or is that? Yeah, it's Fanta Yeah, Fanta strawberry. I've never had it before. I've very rarely ever even had normal Fanta. So I don't know if you've ever had Fanta strawberry, but this is one I can't comment on.
Yeah, I have not had it either, so I can't, really give an opinion here.
Okay. This next one, Fresca Special Citrus. So I assume this is like a kind of vibe of like Sprite and Seven Up and all that stuff, but um, another one that I just have not had, and I can't. I had never even heard of Fresca Special Citrus until just now when I read it off the can.
So I'm a big Fresca guy. It's
Okay,
really good. It's kind of like that mix between, lemon lime soda and orange. Um,
okay,
it's gonna be a solid A tier drink for me. I'm a big Fresca fan.
okay. I like it. I'll take your word for it. I'll have to try it. Crushed grape, I've had a couple times. Um, it's not great. It's not terrible. Um, I'll put it here ahead of Diet Coke. Uh, it's way too sweet for me personally. I like a theme I've started to establish is I like sodas with a little bit more burn to it. Um, but and another thing is just grape soda is just not, grape's just not a flavor that I want in a soda a lot of the time. So it's not the worst thing I've ever had, but it's also something that I don't have very often at all.
Yeah, I've actually never had it. And I'm not a big grape anything person. I think most of the stuff tastes like cough medicine, but I'm not a big grape person, but I've never had crushed grape.
I will say the best grape thing though is grape Jolly Ranchers. So um,
Yes.
Hawaiian Punch. I joked about this a little earlier, Parker. I don't think I've had a Hawaiian Punch since I was like 11 years old. And at 11 years old, I thought it was great. But now that I'm a little older, I obviously know it's extremely sweet. It's literally carbonated fruit punch, and I don't think I think it'd be cool to have maybe like once a year at a summer party, like at a cookout or something. But it's something that's way too sweet for me to have any sort of relatively consistently. So I'm gonna put it at the end of C tier because it is kind of a unique flavor. It's really the only one that does fruit punch, but it's gonna be way too sweet for 22-year-old me. So
Yeah, Hawaiian Punch is, I don't have it very often, but when I do, it tastes really good for some reason. I don't know why, but
it's all sugar.
right. It's solid C tier for me. It's kind of like a throwback to 10-year-old Parker. So it's C tier for me.
Okay. This next one, Jolt. I assume this is an energy drink, but I've never had it. I had a period of like 2 years in high school when I was like 15 and 16 that I did drink energy drinks because it's when I started not sleeping very well. And I thought, drinking energy drinks would be cool because that's what some of the other kids in the school do. And then I realized that energy drinks are absolutely disgusting. And I just decided to start doing coffee and tea. And now I still don't sleep a lot, but coffee and tea taste way better than energy drinks do. So I think I definitely upgraded in that department.
Yeah, yeah. I think he did. As far as Jolt goes, I've never even heard of it until right this second. But yeah, if I'm gonna do an energy drink, I'll do one of those Monster tea lemonade things. But and
Mm.
and even then, that's not very often.
No, yeah, and there's this energy drink that we found in the hangar Parker that Patrick and I found that's called I forget what the brand is, but they have a flavor called Rainbow Unicorn. And a flavor that's called Rainbow Unicorn has to be either the greatest thing of all time or the grossest thing of all time. So I think we're going to buy 6 of them. We're going to have all the directors drink them at a directors meeting, and we're probably all going to throw up together.
Sounds like a party.
Doesn't it? Again, common theme for those of you that listen to this show. Nobody has more fun than us. Nobody makes more dumb
Not at
decisions
all.
than us. Nobody makes more dumb decisions than us, but nobody has more fun than us either.
That's fair.
You got to make some dumb decisions to have fun. So let's get to Mellow Yellow. Mellow Yellow is okay. Nothing special. I don't like it a ton, but it's okay. I'm gonna put it in C. I'll put it above Coke Zero because I think it's a little bit better taste than Coke Zero. But again, comparing it to some of these other lemon lime sodas, I just prefer other stuff better.
Right. And Mellow Yellow is one that I'm not, very all having. I probably put it in a very similar spot because, I just really don't have it too much.
Minute Maid lemonade. I'll tell you what, Parker. I didn't drink. I went had a very big stretch of my life that I didn't drink this very often. Um, but it's not bad, man. I like it a lot, and it's very refreshing in the summer. It's extremely sweet, but it's very refreshing in the summer. I'm gonna put it over Fanta. I think it's a solid B tier. You're hanging out with some friends in like a June or July bonfire on a Friday night, or you're having a cookout or whatever. You're grilling out and you're out of beer or whatever, and you have one of these Minute Maids. It's really refreshing. Comes right out of the fridge, and or a cooler or whatever, and it hits the spot in the summer for sure.
Yeah, it does. I'm a big lemonade guy. And there certainly are lemonades that are too sweet. But Minute Maid's not that. It's really good.
Next up, this is one of my favorites, and you know this. Mountain Dew Code Red. Mountain Dew Code Red is going in A tier for me. I'm even gonna put it. I'm gonna put it at the top of A tier. I love cherry Coke and I like Barks, but out of the 3 drinks here, I drink Code Red the most. Code Red is my second favorite flavor of Mountain Dew, and you have to remember that we have Baja up here in S tier just chilling, even though we don't have the graphic for it. So after Baja, Code Red is my favorite flavor of Dew. I absolutely love Code Red. It's probably my favorite cherry flavored drink.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had never had Code Red until about 2 or 3 months ago when we were at the hangar and you're like, you got to try this. And I did, and I immediately, after getting back to, Indiana here, I went out and bought a case of them because they're that good.
They sure are, and I mean I know that Mountain Dew is absolutely horrible for you, but I mean Code Red is absolutely outstanding. Regular Mountain Dew though, I've been spoiled with Code Red and with Voltage and with Baja and all these specialty flavors. Regular Mountain Dew just doesn't do it for me anymore, Parker. I'm still gonna put it at the uh, I'll put it at the top of C. I probably drink it more than Fanta and Minute Maid, but I feel like these 2 drinks, when I drink them, just taste more satisfying than regular Mountain Dew. When I drink regular Mountain Dew at this point in my life, I feel like it's kind of underwhelming because I know I could be having a specialty flavor.
Yeah, I'm not as low on Mountain Dew as you are regular Mountain Dew. I'd probably put it in B tier, between Fanta and Minute Maid, but yeah, I can certainly see where you're coming from.
All right, next up is Mountain Dew. This is the what is this? Live Wire. This is Live Wire. So this is I got to double check here. Um, I It's been a minute since I've had Live Wire. Um, I didn't drink it a ton, but it's like the orange flavor um, of Mountain Dew, and like I said, I liked Fanta because it was more orange and less just pure sugar. Mountain Dew obviously is notorious for being pure sugar. So for me, this is C tier. I'll put it. I don't know. I'll probably put it there. But Live Wire by no means is my favorite flavor of Dew. I've only had it a handful of times, and like I said, I don't drink a ton of orange soda. so I don't go out of my way to get Mountain Dew's orange soda. But even when I do drink orange soda, I like one that's a little more tangy and a little less sugary. And Mountain Dew is obviously really sugary, so it's not my favorite by any means.
Yeah, I can't give I've never had this, so I really can't give an opinion on it.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Pibb. Mr. Pibb is really good. Have you had Mr. Pibb?
I have.
Okay, I'll let you rate this one first because I'm curious where you put it.
So I haven't I don't have it very much. I prefer Dr. Pepper over Mr. Pibb
Hmm.
10 times out of 10.
I do too.
Um, but it's still solid C tier for me. I just don't
Okay.
have it very much.
I was gonna put it in B at the end, but I respect that. I think it's good. Like you said though, I totally would take Dr. Pepper 10 times out of 10 over Mr. Pibb. But Mr. Pibb, for not being a main brand on drink, really solid. So let's get to Mug. Mug is my least favorite of the big three root beers, just because it's the sweetest. I'm not a fan of. I'm not as big of a fan of it. It's still not bad, but I'm not as big of a fan of it. Um, so I'll put it. I'll put it right ahead of Live Wire because I do still drink it more than Live Wire. Um, it's still okay, but it's too sweet for a root beer for me. I out of the big three, like I said, I drink A&W more than I drink Mug, and I drink Barks more than I drink A&W.
Yeah, and it's my least favorite of those three as well. And I'd probably put it in a similar spot at you. Like you said, I'm not too much of a sweet person, unless it comes to dessert, which I will, get as many times as I possibly can. Especially ice cream, but that's a conversation for another day. Um, yeah, it's just my least favorite out of those three.
You might have just come up with our next Friday tier list, Parker. Ice cream flavors.
Yeah, yeah, it's possible.
um. All right, we get to Crush. Crush is okay. I personally prefer Crush to Sunkist. But it's still gonna go in C tier for me. I'll put it ahead of Live because I like it better than Live. But it's still not great. I keep going back to the same point. I don't drink orange soda a ton. And really the only one that I do drink semi consistently is Fanta. And so it's okay. But there's so many drinks that I'd pick before Crush.
Yeah, I'm with you. Personally, I put Crush, as my least favorite of the three. But it's still, solid orange soda, even though, like you said, I don't have it very much.
Let's get to this is what is how do you pronounce this? Orangina. I've never had this. I've never even heard of it. I'm not gonna lie.
I have never heard of it either.
All right, so we'll put that one in the never had. I'm kind of proud of us, Parker. We don't have as many in never had as I thought we might. So we're holding our own a little bit. Pepsi, regular Pepsi. It's not Coke. It's definitely not Coke. But it's still solid. I don't hate Pepsi. I know some people are trained to hate on everything Pepsi because it's not Coke. But I'm still going to put it at the top of B. I think it's pretty solid. My opinion on the Coke versus Pepsi debate: Coke is the better drink. Coke beats Pepsi, but Pepsi has better uh, specialty drinks, or not. Pepsi has better side drinks, I should say. All Coke really has is Dr. Pepper, where Pepsi has the rights to Barks. Coke has A&W. Pepsi has Mountain Dew. Pepsi has, so I think Pepsi wins in the side drinks category, but I definitely think Coke's a better drink than Pepsi.
I agree with you. Even though Pepsi has, drinks like Mountain Dew, Coke's still the better overall drink.
Where would you have put Pepsi? Do you think B is a pretty solid spot?
I think B's solid. Yeah, it's close. If there was like an A minus tier, I'd probably put it in there, but I'm gonna put it in at the top of B as well.
Okay. Let's move on to Royal RC. RC is really, really good. Have you ever been down to like South Carolina and stuff and gotten RC?
I have RC actually out in the garage actually. I don't
Nice.
drink it a ton, but I was at the store the other day and I'm like, you know what? I haven't had that in a while. It's solid B tier for me. I like it.
I agree. It's really solid for me. I'm gonna put it right here, kind of in the middle of B tier. I like it a lot. My roommate got me hooked on it back like my senior year of high school, and it's definitely it's a solid change of pace. I don't drink a ton of straight cola. I don't think as much as maybe some other people do. But it's good for sure. And sometimes I like to mix things up just from your typical Coke or Pepsi. And when I do, RC is usually the move.
Right. And like I said, I don't have it very much, but when I do, it hits the spot.
All right, next up is this is Squirt. I don't know what the flavor that is. Is that like citrus or whatever? Well, I know normal Squirt, but I don't know what flavor that is. But I've definitely never had a Squirt in a red can, so
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually didn't know Squirt came in a red can.
I didn't either. This next one is this Schweppers? Schweppes? I don't know what that is either. It's another ginger ale, but I've never had that either. Like I said, I've had Burners, which I like a lot, but I've never had Schweppes or whatever that is.
Yeah, I have no clue what that is, to be honest with you.
That almost looks like baking soda, Parker. That kind of can design. Now, Shasta Cola is one I have heard of. I've never had it, but it is like out of the last three or so, it is the one that I have heard of.
I have not heard of Shasta Cola.
So we hit a little bit of a dry spell there. As soon as I said that, we were doing pretty good and not having any drinks and then never had to, we hit a dry spell. But now we're back to a couple that I think I know pretty well at least. Sierra Mist. Sierra Mist is okay. It's probably my least favorite of Seven Up, Sprite, and Sierra Mist. I'm gonna put it in. I'll put it in C. I'll put it at the end of C. It's not bad, but like I said, if I have a choice between all the lemon lime drinks, Sierra Mist hardly ever wins.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the next on this list is the one that will win for both of us.
Uh huh. Yeah, Sprite goes in A tier for me. Sprite's really really good. Um, I was thinking for a bit about putting Sprite in S tier, because it's just lemon lime. It's such a it hits the spot sometimes, especially when you're rolling to the McDonald's drive-thru. I don't know what they put in the Sprite there. I don't know if it's drugs. I don't know what it is, but it's unbelievable. And Sprite. Anytime I drink Sprite, it just hits the spot because it's so different from a lot of stuff that I drink.
Right. Completely agree with you. They're doing something to the Sprite at McDonald's because, it doesn't taste better anywhere else.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's bubblier, it tastes better, and it like they put it in a cup with a bunch of ice in it, and the ice never melts. So it's literally ice cold for like 3 hours, and I don't get it.
Right.
All right, next up we have Squirt. Squirt, I know a lot of people haven't had it or don't think it's that great. Um, I think it's pretty good though. My family drank it a lot growing up when I went to Canada and stuff in the summer. I think it's better than Mellow, honestly. I'm gonna put it in C, but I think it's better than Mellow. It's not bad. I definitely take it over Sierra Mist, but I think Seven Up's better.
Yeah, I think Squirt is better than Mellow Yellow. But if I have to go with it, like that citrus, lemon, lime, orange mix, Fresco wins every time for me.
All right. We move on to Sunkissed. I personally very closely prefer Crush to Sunkissed. I know you said you prefer Sunkissed. I don't think Sunkissed is bad by any means, but I think it's a little too sweet for me. Um, but it's still C tier for me. It's solid. Oh crap, his audio is delayed, so we'll stall for a bit. We almost got to the end of the show. Are you good? We back now?
I think I'm good. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, we got you now. So what are your thoughts on Sunkissed?
Sunkissed is, I'd probably flip flop Crush and Sunkissed, like you said, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I have no issue with it in terms of it being good. I just had one of my high school buddies DM me, by the way, and say that Tyler Stevenson's the goat, and he's absolutely right. So if you're listening to this, Chad, you're spot on the money. Tyler Stevenson is indeed the goat. But uh, I think yeah, I think that's just our our personal preference. I think Crush is a little less sweet, like overpowering sweet than Sunkissed is. That's why I have it one spot ahead. But you said you just flip flop them, and I mean I respect that. So Surge, I've never had before. I don't think you have either, but I'll let you. If you have, I'll let you rate it.
Yeah, I have not had it.
I know you've had this one though. I've never had it, but I'll let you explain to the viewers what Tab is.
So, from everything I hear, and I've had it a couple times, Tab was, the Diet Coke before Diet Coke, and it was awful. And I was listening to a radio show that I love a lot, and the host was explaining how if you used to pour Tab on like a corroded like AA battery, Tab would actually, get rid of the corrosion on the battery. So whatever's in Tab was not good for you. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, great by any means. It's D tier for me. But yeah, and actually, I just saw this the other day that Tab has been out of business for over a year now.
Hmm, I love that. And now finally, Wild Cherry Pepsi. Um, Pepsi is in B tier, Parker, but Wild Cherry Pepsi is in A tier. This is a drink that I have in the office quite a bit. I like it a lot. It's really close to Cherry Coke for me. I mean, they're basically the same drink for me. I can tell a difference between Cherry Coke or Cherry and or Coke and Pepsi, but I can't really tell a difference between Cherry Coke and Cherry Pepsi. I'd still pick Code Red, I think, over both. But Wild Cherry Pepsi is really, really
Yeah, it is. And like you said, I prefer, cherry Pepsi over regular Pepsi any day of the week. But Code Red wins when it comes to cherry flavored beverages.
good. Absolutely. Well, that was really fun. I'm glad sometimes we mix it up and do non-sports tier lists. I mean, sports tier lists are great, but sometimes it's fun to mix it up and just kind of do something kind of random. And I that was a lot of fun. But now I'm craving Code Red, so thanks.
Yeah, it was fun. We did fast food joints a couple weeks ago. Now we switched it up here with soda flavors. So maybe we'll see. We'll do ice cream flavors or whatever it may be here in the next couple weeks on one of these Fridays because it's certainly fun to get away from sports every once in a while.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I lied. I said that this show was going to probably be a little short, but we hit the 2 hour mark because we ended up talking about NBA a little bit. We ended up doing this tier list, so it's whatever. I mean, enjoy. I mean, it was a fun way to kick off the weekend. But that is pretty much, I mean, we talked about a lot today. The Milwaukee Bucks, what a performance tonight in game five. They're one win away from the NBA Finals. We talked a little bit about who's Batman, who's Robin, and some of the NBA superstars, young stars of the league. Um, we broke down all the All Star game starters, and we also did a tier list on our favorite sodas. So um, we appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Friday afternoon. Thanks a lot for spending part of your week here with us. Follow us on social media at WWSU1069. That's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can follow our personals as well at Parker Testa at ESPN Shea Neal. Um, I'm not going to go into a 10-minute rant on why you should find us at the atrium next week because we did that yesterday. So we won't bother you with that again until next week. But Parker, any closing thoughts before we call it a week here on the show?
Well, happy 4th of July to all of you out there, and I hope, everyone gets a chance to get out there, out and get outside. I know the weather's supposed to be excellent, so, wherever you may be, happy 4th of July to you all. Hope you get a chance to get out and barbecue and enjoy the holiday weekend.
Absolutely. And I'm excited because this will be my first time in 3 years that I actually get a normal fireworks show at Centerville High School. They do a big fireworks show at the football field, which is about 8 minutes or so from my apartment. And last year, obviously, the pandemic made it so I couldn't go. And 2 years ago, I broke my foot. And I went, But I crutched my whole way to the top of the stadium and then crutched about a half mile to the car and back. And I've never felt more pain in my arm and shoulder than I did that day, crutching about a mile and a half on crutches. And I've torn my labrum in my shoulder, so it was a rough night for me.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to it. Lots of fireworks going on. Actually, as we're talking right now at almost 2 o'clock in the morning, I can hear, booms outside. So somebody's having a, party late on a Thursday night, but happy 4th of July to all you out there.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Again, we're not going to be here on Monday. We're taking an extra day for the holiday weekend. So we'll be back on Tuesday, the 6th. So until then, this is Shea Neal alongside Parker Testa in Noblesville. I'll be back in Ohio on Tuesday, but I'll see you then, and we'll see you then. Keep it real, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday. Peace out, everyone.